So I just saw the Lego Movie 2, the second part, and it was alright. Now I really loved the first Lego Movie. It was clever, sincere, and filled with meta commentary. It's one of my favorite animated movies, to be perfectly honest. I didn't watch the Lego Batman movie because I wasn't really interested, I guess. And with this film, I didn't really even know it was coming out soon until it already was. Perhaps its advertising was just limited to showing trailers and other kids' movies because I kind of forgot this was even happening. And to be perfectly honest, the only reason I saw it is because there were some comments of people saying they wanted to hear my thoughts on it. I didn't have a bad time watching it, and it wasn't a negative experience in any way, but nothing about this movie really wowed me like the first one. For the most part, this is just a recycled and less impactful version of the first movie. Pretty much every gag in the film is essentially just a callback to a gag in the first film. The spaceship guy yelled spaceship enough times in the first movie, but in this one it's just overkill. Like, yep, I remember the joke, you can stop now, please. Every reincorporated aspect in this film that was once used sparingly and purposefully is now just done to death. The amount of songs in this film is such an overkill that it's essentially a musical now. Even the live-action sequences are now over-present and drawn out. What once felt meaningful and necessary is now just there. Everything that took place in the first film was closely tied to its message and themes, and even though this film does have its own message, it just seems so much more thrown in. If they had trimmed down some of the live-action sequences, this movie probably would have improved. In this film, it feels a lot sloppier and less convincing, and again, the biggest problem is that there's no more real meaning or purpose. The film's structure was also questionable. Throughout the first half of the film, the action sequences felt as though they were just thrown into random places purely to exist. They really failed to capture the same sense of excitement and adventure that the first film offered. About halfway through the film, it started to flow much better, but man, that first half was really difficult to get myself invested in. The animation is still interesting, and I love the unique style, but once again, it's just a watered-down version of the first film. Each action sequence in the first film was filled with creativity and unique perspective shots, and I can't say that this film was poorly presented in that sense, but it feels like there were a lot of missed opportunities to do something better. The songs that were presented in this film ranged from pretty good to pretty not good. Some of them were catchy and enjoyable to listen to. Others just had me questioning why they felt the need to include them in the film. Again, overall, this film was not a negative experience, but it really just left me wanting something more. There's quite a few things they could have done to improve this movie, and there is something there, but unfortunately, the film as a whole is just a shell of wasted potential. There were parts where I enjoyed myself, there were a couple jokes that I liked, so don't let me scare you away from watching this if it looks interesting to you, but either way, you should definitely watch the first film if you haven't already. As for this one, I'm giving it a 5 or 6 out of 10. I'm leaving it as a 5 for now, but it's closer to a 6 than a 4, but let's just call it a 5. Thank you.